The Velorian was dying when Sergeant Marcus Cole found her. Not dramatically, not with blood pooling beneath small limbs, but slowly, the way hope dies in the eyes of something that has stopped believing in rescue. She was curled in the wreckage of what had been a diplomatic shuttle, her bioluminescent markings dim, barely pulsing with the faintest blue. Around her, 17 bodies of her own kind lay still, their light extinguished entirely. Marcus should have kept moving. His extraction point was 2 clicks north, and command had been explicit. No delays, no detours, no humanitarian complications. The ceasefire was 46 hours old, and everyone with half a brain knew it wouldn't hold. Shit, he muttered, and climbed into the wreckage anyway. The Velorian flinched when his shadow fell over her. Her eyes, too large, too dark, holding depths that seemed wrong for a face so young, fixed on his rifle first, then traveled up to his face. She said nothing, made no plea, no sound. That was what got him. The silence. 17 years of war had taught Marcus what dying things sounded like, and this wasn't it. This was something worse, the quiet of something that had already accepted its end. "Can you walk?" he asked. She blinked, slowly, as if the question was in a language she'd forgotten. "Walk," Marcus repeated, miming the motion with 2 fingers. "Move. Relocate. Get the hell out of here before the Sovereignty's cleanup crews arrive. You are human. Guy." Her voice was barely a whisper, melodic even through damage. Terran coalition. "Last time I checked, we are not allies. We're not enemies either. Not officially. Not for..." He checked his chrono. 47 hours now. He extended his hand. "So let's call this a gray area." She stared at his hand, like it was a weapon. Maybe, to her kind, it was. The war had been brutal on both sides, and the Velorians had learned early that human hands could crush, tear, pull triggers. The fact that they could also lift, carry, and heal was a lesson the galaxy hadn't bothered teaching. "I will slow you," she said finally. "Your extraction is my problem, you coming or not." For a long moment she didn't move. Then, with a wince that she tried to hide and failed, she reached up and let his fingers close around her wrist. Her skin was cool, smooth, wrong by human standards, but her pulse hammered against his palm with the universal rhythm of fear. "Kira?" she said as he helped her stand. "My designation is Kira Velanthus, Marcus. And you're about to hate me, Kira, because we need to move fast and you look like you haven't eaten in 3 days. 4, she corrected quietly. 4 days. Marcus bit back a curse, shrugged off his pack, and handed her an emergency ration bar. "Eat while we walk. And stay behind me." She took the bar, turned it over in her thin fingers, and looked at him with something he couldn't quite read. "Why are you doing this?" "Because leaving you here would make me an asshole and I've got enough sins on my conscience." He started moving, not waiting to see if she followed. "Now, save your questions. We've got 6 hours of hostile territory, and I don't like talking." She followed. Of course she did. What choice did she have? But as they moved through the shattered forest, Marcus became aware of her presence behind him in a way that had nothing to do with tactical awareness. The soft glow of her markings, still dim, but slowly brightening. The near-silent footsteps that somehow matched his pace despite her obvious exhaustion. The way she watched everything, him included, with eyes that saw too much. He'd rescued survivors before. Carried wounded soldiers, civilians, even enemy combatants when the situation demanded it. This felt different. And he didn't like different. Different got you killed. They made it 2 clicks before Marcus called a halt. The Sovereignty patrol had been sloppy, probably still celebrating the ceasefire with whatever the Kytherans used for alcohol. But they were still between Marcus's position and extraction. 8 soldiers, heavy weapons, no clear way around. "We wait," Marcus said, settling into a covered position beneath a fallen transport beam. "They'll move on in an hour, maybe 2. Kira lowered herself beside him, her movements careful, controlled. The ration bar was gone. She'd eaten it in small, precise bites while walking, never once slowing her pace. Now she sat with her knees drawn up, her dim glow casting faint blue shadows on the debris around them. "You are special operations," she said. It wasn't a question. Marcus didn't answer. "The way you move, the way you read terrain, the equipment you carry." Her dark eyes studied him. "You are one of the humans they warned us about. And who warned you about what exactly?" "The sovereignty briefings, before the war reached our system." Something flickered in her expression. Old pain, barely healed. "They said humans were efficient, that you killed without hesitation, without remorse, that you would not stop until every enemy was eliminated." Marcus snorted. "Sounds about right. Then why am I alive?" The question hung in the air, simple and devastating. Marcus found himself without a ready answer, which annoyed him. He always had answers. "You weren't a threat," he said finally. "I was enemy adjacent. My shuttle was carrying diplomatic personnel aligned with sovereignty interests. Were you a diplomat?" "No." She paused. "I was a companion. A bonded attendant to Ambassador Velanthus. My mother's mother." Marcus frowned. "A servant?" "No." The word came sharp, almost offended. "A companion. Among my people the bond is Adorn. It is not servitude. It is presence. Witness. To be companion is to carry another's story, to ensure they are not alone in their journey. And now?" Kira's light dimmed further. "Now there is no one left to companion. The story has ended." Marcus should have left it there. Should have let silence fill the space between them, the way it was supposed to between strangers in a war zone. Instead, he heard himself ask, "How old are you, in your measurements?" 16 of your years." 16. Christ I. He'd been fighting since before she was born. "You shouldn't be out here," he said, and immediately felt stupid for saying it. War didn't care about should. Neither should you. Kira's gaze was steady, too steady for a kid. "You carry it in your eyes. The tiredness, not physical, the other kind, the kind that sleep does not fix. You always this observant with strangers, companions are trained to see. It is our purpose." "Well, stop." Marcus shifted, suddenly uncomfortable. "I didn't pull you out of that wreck to be psychoanalyzed." "Then why did you?" "I told you. You told me because it would make you an asshole." "But that is not the truth." Kira tilted her head, her markings pulsing faintly. "The truth is that you saw me, and you could not walk away." "That is different." Marcus didn't respond. After a moment he closed his eyes and focused on regulating his breathing. 2 hours. 2 hours and they'd be moving again. He could handle 2 hours of uncomfortable silence. But when Kira spoke again, her voice was softer. "Among my people, a companion bond is chosen. It cannot be forced or assigned. The companion must see something in the other, worth carrying, worth witnessing. And I am looking at you, Sergeant Marcus Cole, and I am trying to understand what I see." "Don't." The word came out harder than he intended. "I'm just a soldier doing a job. That's all." "If that were true," Kira said quietly, "I would be dead. And you would not be so uncomfortable with my gratitude." Marcus opened his eyes. The Velorian girl was watching him with those impossible dark eyes, her faint glow steady now, almost warm. "Get some rest," he said finally. "We move in 2 hours. Will you sleep? Someone has to keep watch. Then I will not sleep either." She settled back against the debris, her gaze fixed on the same horizon he was watching. "A companion does not rest while their charge remains vigilant." "I'm not your charge." "No," Kira agreed. "You are not. But you are the only story I have left to carry. So for now, Sergeant, you will have to do." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to explain that he wasn't a story, wasn't worth carrying, wasn't anything but a tired soldier trying to survive long enough to hate himself in peacetime. Instead, he said nothing. And they watched the dark together. Extraction went sideways at dawn. The ceasefire had been a lie. Or maybe it had been real until some general somewhere decided it wasn't. Either way, The sky lit up with sovereignty gunships at 547, and Marcus's ride home suddenly had bigger problems than picking up one overdue operator. Command, this is Shadow 7. Requesting immediate extraction, coordinates, Shadow 7. Extraction is scrub. All assets are being redirected to Sector 9. Proceed to alternate rally point Delta 4 and hold for further instructions. Copy, Command. Be advised, I have a civilian survivor. Velorian, non-combatant. Requesting guidance on Shadow 7. We have no resources for non-essential personnel. Proceed to Delta 4 Tower. Command out. The channel went dead. Marcus stared at his communicator for a long moment, then carefully put it away. Non-essential, Kira said quietly. She'd heard everything. Of course she had. They're just words. Words that mean I am expendable to your people. She didn't sound surprised. As I was expendable to the sovereignty. As I was expendable to the attack that killed my grandmother. Marcus turned to face her. In the early light, her markings were almost invisible, just faint traces beneath her pale skin. She looked small, fragile, young, but her expression held nothing of fragility. I'm not leaving you behind, he said. That would be the logical choice. I slow you down. I have no military value. And your mission, screw the mission. Kira's eyes widened slightly. That is not what I expected you to say. Yeah, well. Marcus adjusted his pack, checked his weapon, and started calculating the route to Delta 4. I'm full of surprises. Can you keep up if we run? I do not know. I have never had to run for this long. Then I guess we'll find out. He offered his hand again, a gesture that was already becoming familiar. Stay close. If shooting starts, get behind me and stay down. If I go down, you run. Don't look back. Kira took his hand, and he pulled her upright. I will not run, she said. You will if I order you to. You are not my commander, Sergeant. And companions do not abandon their charges. A faint smile touched her lips. The first he'd seen. I believe you called it a gray area. Despite everything, the failed extraction, the renewed hostilities, the 100 ways this situation could get them both killed, Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Something like warmth. Fine, he said. Then don't fall behind. They ran. The forest gave way to industrial ruins after the first hour. Pre-war manufacturing district. Abandoned when the fighting moved through. Never reclaimed. Good cover. Bad sightlines. Worse memories. Marcus had fought here 3 years ago. Lost 4 soldiers. Could still smell the smoke if he concentrated. He didn't concentrate. Kira ran beside him now. Not behind. She'd found her rhythm somewhere in the second kilometer. Her breathing steady. Her steps matching his with uncanny precision. Her light had returned. Not bright, but steady, pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. You're faster than you look, Marcus said during a brief rest stop. You are slower than you should be. Kira's eyes were on his leg, the one that had taken shrapnel 6 months ago and never quite healed right. You did not mention you were injured. It's not relevant. It affects your mobility, your speed, your effectiveness in combat, and you called me expendable personnel. But you are operating at reduced capacity while prioritizing my survival. She tilted her head. By your own military logic, you should have left me. The math does not balance. Marcus took a long drink from his canteen, then offered it to her. You always think this much? Companions observe. We cannot help but think. She drank, small sips, careful not to take more than her share. You are not what the briefings described. Neither are you. What did your briefing say about Velorians? That you were non-combatants, weak, dependent on other species for protection. He paused. That you'd break easily under pressure. Kira handed back the canteen. And what do you observe? That you've been keeping up with a special operations soldier for 3 hours. That you haven't complained once. That you're calculating survival odds in your head and not liking the answers, but you're still moving forward. He met her eyes. I observe that whoever wrote those briefings never met a real Velorian. Something flickered in her expression. Surprise, perhaps. Or recognition. My people are not warriors. It is true that we do not fight. But companions are trained to endure, to witness suffering without breaking, to carry stories that others cannot bear. Sounds like a different kind of strength. It is. Though your galaxy does not seem to value it. Marcus thought about the wars he'd fought. The soldiers he'd lost. The ones who'd come home physically intact but hollowed out inside, unable to carry what they'd witnessed. Maybe it should, he said quietly. Kira studied him for a long moment. Then, without warning, she reached out and pressed her palm flat against his chest, over his heart. Her skin was cool, but where she touched him, warmth spread outward. What are you doing? Listening. Her eyes had gone distant, unfocused. Among my people, the heart carries more truth than words. I am trying to understand yours. And what do you hear? Pain. Her voice was barely a whisper. So much pain, but beneath it, still beating, still fighting. She looked up at him. You are tired, Sergeant Marcus Cole. Tired in ways that have nothing to do with running. But you are not broken. You sure about that? I'm sure that you are still here. That you are still choosing to help me when you have every reason not to. Her hand dropped away. That is not broken. That is choosing to keep going despite everything. Marcus should have said something dismissive, should have deflected with humor or silence. Instead, he heard himself ask, "Does it hurt?" Hearing all that? Yes. Kira's smile was sad, soft. But companions are trained to carry pain. It is the weight we choose. No one should have to carry that much. And yet someone must. Otherwise, the pain has nowhere to go. She straightened, her light pulsing stronger now. Rest time is over, Sergeant. We should move. He nodded, pushing himself upright, ignoring the throb in his leg. You're bossy for a non-combatant. I prefer assertive. And you need someone to be assertive with you, or you will simply run until you collapse. Marcus found himself smiling, actually smiling, for the first time in longer than he could. Remember. Fine, but I'm still in charge. Of course you are. Kira fell into step beside him. I will simply assertively suggest the correct course of action, and you will assertively agree. That's not how command works. It is now. And somehow, impossibly, Marcus didn't mind. They hit the ambush at kilometer 17. Sovereignty scouts, a 5-man team that had somehow gotten ahead of them, set up in the skeletal remains of a factory processing center. The first shot caught Marcus in the shoulder, spinning him sideways, and his return fire went wide. Down! He grabbed Kira and pulled her behind a concrete barrier, his wounded arms screaming as he positioned his body between her and the incoming fire. Stay low, stay quiet. You are bleeding. No shit. He switched his rifle to his left hand. Awkward, functional. I need to draw their fire, get them to reposition. When I move, you run for the back exit. There, 20 meters north. I will not. That's an order, Kira. You are not my commander. I'm right now. He met her eyes, fierce. You run. You survive. You don't look back. Kira's markings flared bright, brighter than he'd seen them. And if you die, then you carry the story. That's what companions do, right? He managed a grimace that might have been a smile. Make sure I sound heroic. Marcus, go. On my signal. He didn't wait for her agreement. He broke cover, firing, drawing attention. Feeling rounds snap past his head as he moved. The scouts tracked him, focused on the immediate threat. And behind him he heard Kira's footsteps fading toward the exit. Good. That was good. Now he just had to survive long enough for it to matter. The firefight lasted 12 minutes. It felt like 12 hours. Marcus took another hit. Leg this time. The same damn leg that was already compromised, and went down hard behind a rusted machine housing. 3 scouts dead, 2 remaining, and his ammunition was running low. He was calculating his odds. Bad, getting worse, when the factory's back section exploded. Not literally, but the sound that erupted from that direction was so unexpected, so wrong that everyone froze. A high, keening wail that seemed to come from everywhere at once, reverberating off the metal walls, building to a pitch that made Marcus's teeth ache. The remaining scouts turned toward the sound, confused, weapons raised, and Kira walked out of the shadows, her markings blazing white-blue, her small form somehow filling the entire space with light and sound and presence. What the? One of the scouts raised his weapon. The light pulsed. The scout's hand went slack. His eyes went distant, unfocused, and he dropped to his knees as if his strings had been cut. The second scout tried to run, made it 3 steps before the same thing happened to him, that keening sound burrowing into his brain, that light overwhelming his senses. He fell, convulsing once, then going still. Kira kept walking, kept glowing. When she reached Marcus, she dropped to her knees beside him. And suddenly she was small again, young again, her light fading to a dim pulse. "What?" Marcus said slowly. "The hell was that?" Companion defense. Her voice was strained, exhausted. "We are trained never to use it, never to reveal it. The cost is..." She swayed slightly. "Significant. You said your people weren't fighters. We are not. This is not fighting. This is... screaming. Projecting emotion so strong it overwhelms the nervous system." She pressed her hands to his wounded shoulder, and warmth spread from her touch. It does not kill. It simply stops them. And the cost? I have used years of my life. Perhaps many years. I do not know how many. She looked at him, and her eyes were old, suddenly, ancient. "But you were dying, and I would not, Kira." He caught her hands, held them still. "You should have run. You would have waited for me. What? If our positions were reversed, if I was wounded, and you had the chance to escape." She met his eyes steadily. "You would have waited. You would have come back. You would have found a way." He wanted to deny it. Wanted to say he was a soldier, that he followed orders, that he would have done the logical thing and saved himself. But he looked at this alien girl, this strange, impossible, stubborn creature who had just burned years of her life to save him. And he couldn't lie. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I would have. Then I am not sorry." Kira's smile was tired, but real. "We should move. The sound will attract attention. Can you walk? Can you?" They looked at each other, both bleeding, both exhausted, both too stubborn to quit. "Together?" Marcus asked. "Together." He put his arm around her shoulders. She put hers around his waist. And step by painful step they moved forward. Delta 4 was a ghost town. Whatever Rally Point Command had imagined, it wasn't this: burned-out buildings, abandoned vehicles, and the lingering smell of recent combat. No friendlies, no extraction, no hope of rescue. Marcus lowered himself against a wall, his wounded leg giving out entirely. Kira settled beside him, her light so dim it was almost invisible. "Your communicator," she said quietly. He checked. Dead. Whether from damage or deliberate jamming, it didn't matter. They were alone. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "For what?" "Getting you into this. You'd have been better off if I'd left you in that shuttle. I would have been dead." Kira's voice held no accusation. "And you would have survived and hated yourself for the choice." "I already hate myself for a lot of choices." "Yes. I know. I have been listening, remember?" She shifted closer, pressing against his uninjured side. Her coolness felt good against his feverish skin. "May I tell you something? Kind of hard to stop you." A small laugh, barely a breath. "Among my people, the companion bond is sacred. Once formed, it cannot be broken except by death, and sometimes not even then. We carry those we are bonded forever, in our light, in our memory. Kira, I am not asking permission. I am explaining." She looked up at him, and despite her exhaustion, her eyes held a fierce certainty. "When I took your hand in that wreckage, I did not understand. I thought I was simply surviving. But I was wrong. What do you mean? The bond chose itself. Without my intention, without my training telling me it was time. She pressed her palm to his chest again, over his heart. I heard your pain, Sergeant Marcus Cole. And something in me decided it was worth carrying. Marcus felt his throat tighten. You don't even know me. I know that you saved someone who had no value to you. I know that you carried me when I could not walk. I know that you put your body between mine and death. Not once, but twice. Her light pulsed, faint but steady. What more do I need to know? I've killed people, Kira. A lot of people. I've done things that you have survived a war. The things you carry are not evil. They are weight. They are the cost of still being alive when others are not. She met his eyes. Companions do not judge. We witness. We carry. And we do not let the one we are bonded to carry alone. Marcus looked at her. This small, strange, impossible girl who had somehow decided he was worth something. Who had burned years of her life to save him. Who was now offering to carry his burdens alongside her own. Why me? He whispered. Because you asked why when everyone else would have asked why not. Her smile was soft, sad, real. Because you could not walk away. Because under all that pain and exhaustion and self-hatred, your heart is still trying to be good. I don't know how to be someone's companion. Or whatever this is. You do not have to know. You simply have to let me walk beside you. She shifted, resting her head against his shoulder. We carry each other. That is the bond. That is all it has ever been. Marcus closed his eyes. The warmth spreading through his chest had nothing to do with fever. Okay, he said finally. Okay? Okay. I don't understand it. I don't know if I deserve it, but... He let out a long breath. Okay. Kira's light pulsed brighter. Just a little. Just enough. Dawn found them still there, still alive, still leaning against each other in the ruins of a failed rally point. It was the sound of engines that woke Marcus. Coalition engines. The distinctive whine of a combat rescue shuttle. He tried to stand, failed, and felt Kira's hands steadying him. They came, she said, wonder in her voice. They came. The shuttle touched down in a cloud of debris, and soldiers poured out. Marines in full combat gear, weapons ready, scanning for threats. When they saw Marcus and Kira, there was a moment of confusion. Sergeant Cole? The squad leader approached cautiously. Command said you were Mia. We got a garbled distress signal 4 hours ago. Traced it here? Distress signal? Marcus frowned. My comm's dead. Signal wasn't standard coalition frequency. Some kind of... hell, I don't know. The tech guy said it was like nothing they'd ever seen. Bioluminescent carrier wave, if that makes any sense. Marcus looked at Kira. Her light was almost invisible now, barely a shimmer beneath her skin. But she met his eyes with something like defiance. Companions do not abandon their charges, she said quietly. I told you. That signal, you did that. It cost me. But I would do it again. She touched his face, her fingers trembling with exhaustion. You would have waited for me. So I called for someone to find you. Marcus felt something break open in his chest. Something he'd kept walled away for years, protected by cynicism and duty and the careful distance he'd maintained from everything that might make him vulnerable. You should have saved your strength, he said, but there was no heat in it. You should have left me behind, she countered. We are both terrible at doing what we should. He laughed. It hurt. His shoulder, his leg, everything hurt. But he laughed anyway. Sergeant? The squad leader was watching them with obvious confusion. We need to evac. Both of you. Can she walk? Can you? Marcus asked Kira. If you can. He held out his hand. She took it. And together, leaning on each other, they walked toward the shuttle. The medical bay was quiet, white, humming with the soft sounds of machines monitoring vital signs. Marcus woke to find Kira in the bed beside his, connected to equipment he didn't recognize, her markings dark, but her chest rising and falling steadily. She'll live, said a voice. The ship's doctor, a tired woman with kind eyes. We don't know much about Velorian physiology, but whatever she did to herself, it wasn't fatal, just exhausting. She'll need months to recover, maybe years to restore what she lost. What exactly did she lose? Time. Lifespan. The light they carry, it's tied to their life force. She burned through decades of it in a few minutes. The doctor paused. She did it for you. The Marines told me what they found. What she did to those scouts. The signal she sent. Marcus said nothing. There's something else. The doctor hesitated. When we tried to move her to a separate room, she resisted. Not violently, just she wouldn't let go of your hand. Kept saying something about a bond, about needing to be near you. It's a Velorian thing, I gathered. But, Sergeant, the doctor looked at him carefully. Whatever it is, it's real to her. The physiological readings when she's near you versus when she's not, there's a measurable difference. Her vitals stabilize. Her healing accelerates. A pause. Whatever she chose with you, it wasn't metaphorical. Marcus turned his head to look at Kira. Small, pale, her dark hair spread across the pillow. She looked younger in sleep, the fierce intensity gone from her features. Can she stay? He asked. I'll arrange it. The doctor moved toward the door, then stopped. You know, I've seen a lot of soldiers come through here. Most of them are running from something, fighting to stay ahead of their demons. She looked back at him. You're the first one I've seen who looks like he might be running towards something instead. After she left, Marcus reached across the space between their beds, found Kira's hand, held it. Her light pulsed. Once, twice. Faint, but there. You should have left me behind, he murmured. In her sleep, Kira's fingers tightened around his. And in the silence of the medical bay, surrounded by the soft beeping of machines and the hum of the ship carrying them home, Marcus Cole began to learn what it meant to be carried. Not saved. Not rescued. Just not alone. For the first time in 17 years, that felt like enough.